Hello, Sudden Impact fans. We'd hoped to do this after our Slammiversary preview and predictions video, but unfortunately it has become a priority for us. What am I talking about first? Well, the displeasure of TNA fans and wrestlers alike with the current management and ownership and how they are running TNA. But to get a clear picture of how things have got this bad, let's go back to the beginning of how this all unfolded. Back in 2023, after the Bound for Glory pay-per-view finished, a pre-tagged segment with a few wrestlers met at a swamp at night when Josh Alexander went into that swamp and retrieved a large trunk and brought it ashore. The other wrestlers gathered around as he opened it to reveal archive footage of the company's earlier years, when they were known as TNA Wrestling. The scene faded to black and cut back into the ring, where TNA president Scott D'Amore, who was still president at the time, and some of the wrestlers who were in that tape segment, as well as a few others, were all gathered to announce that Impact of Wrestling was officially returning to its original name, TNA Wrestling. As soon as this was announced, the wrestling world, went wild with excitement. There was so much goodwill going into the rebranding back to TNA that the first pay-per-view, Hard to Kill, which would be the event when TNA went back to its original name, had done more pay-per-view buys than it had done previously. And there were reports that TNA were looking at larger venues to hold their shows, including Full Sail University, the former home of NXT during their Black and Gold era. There was also a lot of excitement when days before the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, the company revealed that they had signed a partnership and their wrestlers would be working with WWE, specifically the NXT wrestlers. So this would see the wrestlers go back and forth between both companies for a little while. Now, well, mostly, as much as WWE and TNA tried telling us it would both benefit the companies equally, but WWE has done this many times in history, and it never works out well for anyone else other than WWE. So, to be fair, the larger viewing audience did work out nicely for TNA Wrestling, as they were able to leverage this into the pay-per-view buys as well as a sold-out Hard to Kill event. Now, at the pay-per-view, it also saw AAA renew their partnership with TNA as well. It also saw the debut of several wrestlers such as AJ Francis, Hammerstone, the Grizzled Young Vets, Ash by Elegance, and a surprise debut by Nick Nemeth. This, however, was undone when days after TNA announced that they had fired Scott D'Amore. Now, this happened because D'Amore wanted TNA's owners, Anthem Sport and Entertainment, to increase TNA's budget so he could attract and retain their wrestlers. Anthem, however, declined this request. So Scott D'Amore put together a financial proposal and got some funding as well, and presented an offer to Anthem to buy TNA from them. They also declined this and fired him as a result. This upset most of TNA's wrestlers, as they were mostly brought in by or worked alongside D'Amore and had respected him for bringing the company back from the brink of irrelevance in 2018, when he and Don Callis were announced as the co-EVPs to run the day-to-day operations of TNA Wrestling after the initial purchase from Anthem. Eventually, however, TNA would move on from this and continue to sell out their venues and with the help of the WWE partnership, which, however, saw Trick Williams win the TNA World Championship, and as well as JC Jane winning the Knockouts World Championship. The official statement from most companies was that this partnership would bring more viewers to TNA programming and increase their attendance, which, in fairness, it did. But rather than have TNA wrestlers win, hold, and defend NXT championships on both shows, the only TNA wrestlers that were allowed to win NXT championships were the Hardys, who won the NXT Tag Team Championships only to lose it a few weeks later. TNA did have several wrestlers appear on NXT programming, with Joe Hendry, Hammerstone, Elijah, Jordan Grace, Josh Alexander among the most notable names. And while it seemed like they were on a stage that they all deserved to be, where they would actually get noticed by everyone, this was a crafty way of giving those wrestlers WWE tryouts without actually giving them tryouts as part of the agreement with WWE. And only for WWE to actually swoop in and offer them multi-year contracts for money that they had not previously seen before, as soon as their TNA contracts had finished. Now, this practice continued for the rest of 2024, 2025, and continues till today. But I do think that wrestlers should get paid a lot more than they currently do, given the high-risk nature of what they actually do. And it doesn't seem like TNA or Anthem want to do this, however, with signing their wrestlers to short-term contracts, which doesn't really give them much continuity with building feuds or championship reigns amongst the creative team. And with WWE not sending as many high-profile NXT wrestlers to compete in TNA anymore, it does seem like TNA are in a bit of trouble. This has come as recently some of the wrestlers have asked for their releases for the reasons that their contracts have been too short, not getting enough money, and their lack of creative direction. However, so they mostly get signed to WWE or AEW, where they get paid a lot better. With Slammiversary around the corner, though, and ticket sales not doing so great, it seems that people are displeased with the current, and it doesn't seem like TNA can actually fix this, or in the immediate future. And it's because it seems people are displeased with the current TNA president, Carlos Silva, and the creative team's booking of most of their wrestlers. And this seems to be playing into the WWE's hands, considering they have a partnership with TNA at the moment. Now, I discussed this partnership and the possible outcomes last year in the video, so you can watch it on this channel. So subscribe, ring the bell to be notified of new videos, such as the Slammiversary preview and predictions video, as well as a follow-up to the TNA WWE partnership, and also other future videos. And we will see you in the next time.